All right, we'd like to welcome you back to the Friday Main Event Class 3A Region Preview Show. This is the second video in our series of three. In this video, Lee and I will be discussing the West regions, Region 5 through 8. He is Lee Teat. I am Mike Molder, and again, we are the Friday Main Event. Lee, are you ready to get rolling?
Ready.
All right, we're going to start, as I mentioned, in Region 5. In Region 5, Lee, in my opinion, probably maybe the best region or the second best region. I guess Region 2, you'd have to say, would get the most preseason hype at the top. But I think top to bottom, Region 5 is going to be.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I think definitely Region 5, top to bottom, is the best 3A region in the state.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lee. And probably the biggest shocker last year in Region 3A was the run that Stratford made. I mean, they entered the playoffs at 2-8. Marched all the way up to semifinals, wound up losing to Covington in overtime. I mean, we were that close, Lee Teat, to having a 2-8 team in the state championship game. It's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, a big part of that was James Moore, the tailback, hit 2,200 yards for them. He just went on an absolute tear in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's very good. Preseason All-State, and we'll talk about that in a minute, Lee. Pearl Cone won this region last year, undefeated. Lee, they won the region games by an average of 42 points a game. That's amazing in itself. Tony Pernetti in his 13th year there at Pearl Cone, 109 and 57 overall. They were 9-3 last year, 4-0 in region play, and again, as we mentioned, got knocked out by that Stratford team, Lee, 32-27 in the second round. What do you think about this year's Firebird squad?
I think they'll pick up where they left off. I don't know that they'll go 9-3 this year because they have a brutal non-region schedule.
Yes.
A brutal. But we like that.
Yeah.
We do. I mean, I always have. But he's got 4 returners on each side of the ball. Now, mind you, 2 of those are tailbacks that both contributed for 20 total touchdowns and, 1,500-plus yards between the 2 of them. So that's going to help him. And then he's got Deshaun Wade back as a preseason All-State linebacker.
Right.
So, and, Pearl Cone typically, man, the Metro school, they're not hurting for athletes.
Right.
Coach Bernetti knows how to coach them. So I say more of the same.
Well, like you said, Lee, that non-region schedule, Cane Ridge, they play them at TSU. They got MBA, a very good D2 team. They got Maplewood, very solid squad. Arcente Broom, our buddy.
Right.
Hillsboro, and then they got Scott Blade's Independent squad at Independence. So, and 4 of those games, if you want to include the game against Cane Ridge, are on the road. So, I agree with you. If they could get 9-3 again this year, wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's right.
They got a tough schedule, but I could see them winning this region. But this region here, as we said at the start, Lee, is going to be very highly contested. You've got East Nashville that finished second last year, 10-2 overall, 3-1 in region play. Their only losses were to Pearl Cone, and then lost to Fairview 33-22 there in the second round. Now he's got 7 starters back on both sides of the ball, Lee, and he's got a whole lot of preseason All-State players. You look at Yukari Blanchard, he's a 26th recruit in the state, cornerback senior. Lester Shaw, number 44 recruit, he's preseason All-State. That safety, Tyler Fletcher, he's listed as an athlete. He's a number 46 recruit. Bronson Harden at linebacker. Rashawn Richardson at cornerback. I mean, they're eat up, dude. And then he mentioned Corey Stewart, the offensive lineman, also preseason All-State. How do you like the Eagles?
I really like them. And Aronde Thompson's back, too, as a quarterback. He's a senior, and he's a really good ball player. Man, this region is wide open. If I live in the metro area, I believe I'd be trying to catch some of these games because there are going to be a lot of highlights.
There's going to be a lot of kids playing at the next level on these teams.
Yep.
Stratford, the team we mentioned, and you mentioned James Moore, 2,273 yards, 25 TDs last year. at that running back spot. He's a preseason All-State. They've got Jacob Webb back at quarterback.
That's right.
6 starters back on offense, 7 on defense. They, as we mentioned, when they lost to Covington 20-14 in overtime in that semifinal. I really like the Spartans this year, man. I think Thomas Porter, he stepped in, after week 4 when Darrell Cogman stepped out. What a great job he did, man. I mean, I know they went 2-8, in the regular season, but when he got his ducks in a row and got that team believing in what he was dishing out, man, what a great team.
Well, now Mike too, as any young person, they got into the playoffs and made this huge run and lost in overtime to Covington.
All right.
Those kids ain't forgot that. They know they can play with anybody.
That's confidence is a big thing in high school.
Exactly right, and I don't think I think you're gonna see them roll into the season with the confidence that they rolled out of the season with last year, especially with Moore coming back. Buddy, they might be the best team in the region
if they stay healthy. I really like them, Lee.
Because what we talked about earlier with Pearl. Their schedule's so brutal out of region. Can they stay healthy through that gauntlet?
That's right.
An injury here or there flips this whole region on its end.
And you look at Stratford's non-region game. They got Hunters Lane. They travel to Howard. They travel to Franklin Road Academy, to Sycamore, and they play Columbia at home. So I'm not saying it's a weak schedule, but it's much weaker than what Pearl Cohen's going to be going against. And we kind of skipped over
and East Nashville.
East Nashville, yeah. East Nashville's got Maplewood. They go to Smyrna. They got BGA. They got Brainerd. And they got Good Pasture on the road.
Right.
So, I like Stratford. Actually, Lee, I like Stratford to win this region. Does that surprise you any?
No, not really. Like I said, I think any of these 3 right here could take the 1, the 2, or the 3 spot.
I like Pearl Cone at 2. I like East Nashville at 3. And I tell you what, there's a 4th team in this region, Lee, that I wouldn't be totally shocked if they won the region. How about that?
That's what I'm saying. At top to bottom, it's just.
It is. And, of course, Lee, we're talking about Giles County and David O'Connor.
That's
right. And his coaching record. That dude can flat out coach. He's 135 and 67 overall. Of course, they were 1-9 last year because they had to forfeit a lot of games.
Right.
They had the quarterback that came up and was ruled ineligible toward the end of the season. So they had a whole lot of forfeits, but they were right in the mix to win that region before that happened, Lee.
Right.
They've got 6 starters back on both sides of the ball. Ty Pierce at fullback, a really, really great, solid kid running the ball. Plays linebacker, plays two-way player. Walker Dunn is listed as an athlete, senior. Luke Williams. So I think the Bobcats are going to have a say in who wins this region.
Oh, they definitely will. The out-of-region schedule for them is Hendersonville, then at Lincoln County, Page. Then they go to Marshall County, and then Tullahoma.
At Marshall County, man,
that's
a lot of hard feelings between those 2 schools. And the coach, of course, a lot of that has to do with the Wallace kid transferring last minute last year.
Right.
Of course, Bo Wallace is he was coaching at Marshall County, and then he moved over with Coach O'Connor at Giles County, his alma mater, which that's understandable.
That's right.
And, of course, Bryce decided to transfer with Bo, and I don't fault any of that. I mean, I would have done the same thing. I can understand the coaching change, and I can understand the quarterback wanting to move, but it just fueled the fire of that rivalry.
And it was already a big rivalry.
Yeah, and this happened late. You got to remember, this happened late preseason. This happened like June, July. So it put Coach Osteen and Marshall County in a heck of a mess down there just to be, just put it the way it was. And so what I'm getting at is that when Giles County travels to Marshall County this year, that'll be a good game to go watch.
It will be.
Because those programs, they don't like each other.
No.
At all. Lee, the team that finished fourth last year was Whites Creek. They were 2-9. They finished fourth only because Giles County had to forfeit all those games. They do have 6 starters back on both sides of the ball. Cameron Davis, Twan Buggs, and Jordan Thompson, the big defensive end. They're in a tough region, man. They're in a tough region. I don't see them. I don't see them doing. Matter of fact, I think they'll be in the cellar because Lee, we got a new member of this region.
Yep, we got Republic coming in. They moved up from 1A to 3A.
Exactly, and it's a new program, Lee Teat, and of course the enrollment numbers are going to grow as they go. Like you mentioned, they're moving up from 1A, and I think the Trailblazers at 5 and 6 last year, 2 and 4 showed a lot of improvement. They've got a new coach, DeMarcus Harmon, linebacker coach last year, takes over for Ron Lambert. They've had a lot of new coaches at Republic. They've kind of been a coaching carousel.
Right.
I think the lack of stability
has hurt them.
It's hurt them a lot, exactly. But they've got a lot of athletes. They got 5 starters back on offense, 4 on defense. They potentially they may be the team that sneaks up on one of these top 4, possibly.
It's possible.
It's possible. I don't see it, but they got the talent to do it. So we'll see.
I think so. But this region, man, like you said, 1 through 4, an injury, a ball bounced the wrong way, shuffled the whole region.
The whole region. That's exactly right. That's why I think I've got that in my top 10, and we'll cover that in the next video. But I think a Week 11 game may decide the whole darn region. The whole standing in the whole region, a Week 11 game. And we'll get to that in our top 10. But, yeah, this region is crazy, man. It's going to be fun to keep up with that region. Lee, let's move on to Region 6. Region 6 has been dominated last couple of years by Fairview. Right. They won their games by a 30-point margin last year. And we talked about in the last video, every region champ in Class 3A did not lose a region game, season game. Of course, Pearl Cone got beat by Stratford in the playoffs in the second round. But other than that, no region champion in 3A last year lost to a region opponent at any point. That was the only region lost.
That's correct.
That's an interesting stat. Aren't you impressed I looked that up?
That's pretty good, buddy. Pretty good.
There you go. Pat yourself on the back.
That's right.
But, yeah, Fairview dominated Region 6, Lee. What's your thoughts on Fairview this year?
We talked to Coach Hughes earlier on this year.
In the spring.
And I really like his approach to what he did this spring. I think they're going to come in fresh and healthy. Kids are going to be excited. I don't see any let up.
And what are you referring to, what they did?
They didn't even put pads on in the spring. All they did was conditioning. And, that reduces injuries, keeps the kids fresh. They don't want to have to go through that spring grind. And believe it or not, man, you keep kids on your team that way. Kids nowadays are a little different, how they're geared and wired, and I think Coach Hughes is on top of that. Kudos to you, Coach.
Did that flag football background have anything to do with that decision, you think?
I don't know. I just think he's on top of
I agree.
the injury situation.
Wondering if the fact that, he did so much, and of course I'm sure that helps him with the 7-on-7 tournaments, having him as head coach. But that may have played a factor in his decision to do that.
Well, it does, but typically nationwide, there's only like 8 states that even allow that anymore, and all 8 of them are in the South.
Mm-hmm.
So I think trend is going the other way, and I think Coach Hughes is out in front of that.
Right.
But what I really like about him is Logan Nadazi, returning tailback, and then Anakin King is a senior quarterback, and he referred to that too as, Anakin doesn't have a lot of props because he's been waiting his time.
Right.
But he said he's an outstanding quality quarterback, so I don't see any let up. I think Fairview runs the table again in this region.
Yeah, I think their non-region competition will be interesting. They got that battle of 840 with Page to start the season out. They got a good Waverly team. That was a good game last year. Greenbrier, Dixon County. I think Dixon County, I want to say, got them last year, Lee, if I remember right. And they typically don't get very tested in this Region 6, so I think it was very important for him to schedule some tough games, non-region. Right. And, Page definitely fits the bill, and I think Waverly also will be a tough game for them.
All right.
So, I like Fairview to repeat. Camden Central last year, I think if I remember right, Lee, I think Camden was the only team that stayed anywhere. I think they stayed within a touchdown of Fairview. Is that right? I didn't.
That's correct.
I think that's correct.
Yep.
William Blow's team. So you got to figure, they're going to be competitive again with 7 starters back on offense, 6 on defense. Darius Jones returns at running back, safety. Derek Poole. They got Brennan Smith at linebacker. Darius Porter and Quentin Wilson. All these kids seniors, Lee, and that's what you like to see, that word senior in front of the kids when you're talking about returning starters, because experience matters. It really matters when you're talking about 15, 16, 17-year-old kids.
Right.
So Camden potentially may cause Fairview some problems.
Well, one thing that preps Camden Central for this region is they're out of region. They're going to Huntington. They're going at Decatur County, Riverside, Creekwood, Waverly. So that's pretty good, man. So I think, probably looking at around a similar record, but probably a similar record in the region.
Yeah, I agree. 6-5,
maybe 7-4, 4-1 region, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And then we got our buddy Justin Robinson, my good friend. I wind up, for some reason, every year he and I guess we like to go to Buffalo Wild Wings after the state championship games, and we wound up the last 2 years hooking up at Buffalo Wild Wings after the state championship games, and enjoy the conversation with him. He had a couple of his buddies up there, and I sat and talked football with them quite a bit. Good guy, man. I really like Coach Robinson. He was on with us last year, if you remember.
Right.
I think he might have been on with us when we were at South Pittsburgh. Seems like.
I think so.
That sound right?
Yeah.
So, good coach, good dude, young guy, 65 last year, 3-2. He told me that I forget who it was, but they got knocked out by Giles County and one of the region coaches. It may have been Coach Hughes. I'm not sure. I said, well, we appreciate you showing us, the format to play with those guys. Lee, you know what? I'm sitting there thinking that's wrong. They didn't play Giles County. Giles County didn't make the playoffs. That's a oops in my notes, isn't it? That was 2 years ago. Anyway, all right, I'm not gonna re-edit that. I noticed my own boo-boo, so I'll go ahead and draw attention to it myself. How about that?
There you go.
But that was 2 years. That was actually 2 years ago we had that conversation. At any rate, what I was getting at, I think they have a chance to contend maybe for that second spot with 8 starters back on offense, 7 on defense. Zach Sullivan, the offensive lineman senior, Kendall Martin, linebacker senior. And then they've got an all-state player. They've got Tristan Hampton, the linebacker. So
that's correct.
What's your thoughts about Sycamore?
They very well could slip into the 2 spot in the region. We got them at the 3, I think, but they could slip into the 2, I think.
And Lee, we've got some information on Cheatham County this week, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Got a new head coach.
And that was kind of unexpected. I think Donnie Webb there at Franklin got a good hire. Eric Hadley, former head coach at Cheatham County, joins Donnie Webb's, and he's a friend of ours as well, at Franklin on staff. Great kid for them. Cheatham County didn't waste any time naming a replacement. They got Dwayne Daniel, who was their defensive coordinator. He'll be the interim head coach for this upcoming season. 4-7, 2-3 in region play with the Cubs. Not a lot of starters back this year, though, Lee.
Yeah, that kind of worries me, man. 4-4. They got Zach Kessler back, tight end D in there at senior. Xavier Smith, the offensive lineman, who's a senior. Dawson Prim, who's a running back, coming back, is a senior. But I'm a little concerned for the Cubs, only returning 4. And you look at the rest of the region, they're typically pushing 7-7 or 8-7 coming back on each side of the ball. So that's a concern right there, I would think.
I think so. And you mentioned the rest of the region. Harpeth, the Indians, at 2-8, 1-4 in region play. They do have 7 starters back, like you said, Lee, on both sides of the ball. Luke Gossett, running back, senior. Kobe Meadows, linebacker, another senior, and then they got Aaron McWright, who's a good-looking tight end at junior coming back. But Harpeth, I don't know that there's a lot of room to move up in this region. Same situation for Stewart County.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
The Rebels 1-9, 0-5 in region play. They do have a lot of starters back, 8-7, but I don't think they make any advancements in Region 6. They've got Willie Reynolds back at fullback, Matt Campbell, Connor Andrews, a junior, returns at running back. John Bryant is a good offensive lineman, but I don't think Stewart County advances any this year anyway.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
All right, Lee, let's move on to Region 7, and we got our good buddy J.R. Kirby taking over for another good buddy of ours, Marty Wheeler.
That's right.
Regular on the Friday Man event. I look forward to having J.R. on with us.
I do. I got him on my Facebook. I'll tell you what, I talked to him up there last year in Cookeville. He's a cool cat. I really like him. But thing about it, Covington Charger fans, don't fret, because we know Coach Wheeler and have for a long time, and I don't think Coach Wheeler necessarily would have left even if he thought that he wouldn't have some capable hands coming in behind him.
Yeah.
And Coach Kirby's been there with him for a long time. He's going to do he learned from one of the better ones. I mean, we've often said Coach Wheeler, heck, Marty would have a handful of state title rings if it wasn't for Alcoa.
That's right.
I mean, he's that good. He played them tight last year. I mean, the best game plan we've probably seen against them in years.
It was.
And, Coach Kirby.
Gary Rankin said the same thing.
Coach Kirby had a big part in that, a big part of that game plan. So, Covington Charger fans, I fully expect you to stay right where you're at, stay on point. And when you got Marcus Hayes, brother, you're there.
He's a good-looking kid.
He
was Mr. Football finalist. He's a preseason All-State. Jordan Prescott at tight end, another good-looking kid. Elijah Patrick. They've got 6 starters back on offense, Lee. They've got 8 back on that really good defense.
Yes, sir.
I mean, they held Alcoa to 21, and there wasn't many teams that could make that claim last year. So, with that many kids back, they got Munsford. They play Brighton, Ripley, and Sheffield, all non-region games. I think the only thing that concerns me, Lee, was the South Gibson team last year. They only beat them by 1 point, and then when they got McNary Central in the second round, they only won that game by 5. So, given that fact that those two teams with a lot of kids back, and couple that with the fact that Milan, the team that finished second last year, the Bulldogs, Teddy Pettigrew's team, they look really good, Lee. I'm pretty impressed with the Bulldogs.
I think so. Man, Coach Pettigrew, he had a tough road, a tough gig there to follow up by Coach Morris. But, he was his DC for a long time.
Right.
Which was a good hire by Milan. Stay familiar. I've always liked Milan too, man. And then they got Kalen Atkinson's a preseason All-State D lineman. Really good. I still like them at the 2 spot. I'm not going to take Covington out of the 1 until somebody knocks them off.
Right.
But Milan can do it. That's the team I think that can.
I went back and forth on that pick right there a lot, Lee. I had Milan, then I had Covington, then I had Milan. I think those two teams are going to be that close this year. Like you mentioned, Atkinson's back, Devontae Aaron's back at quarterback, Demarius Bates back at wide receiver, Kylan Finch is another good running back, senior back. So they got a lot of kids back. Looking on down, though, Lee, you got McNary Central. Like I mentioned, they played Chargers very close there in the postseason last year. They were 9-3 last year. They only lost by 5 to Covington in the third round. They got 7 starters back on offense, including Cole Kirk, senior quarterback.
That's right.
And my thoughts on senior quarterbacks, man. That's like getting 3 starters back.
That's correct. Only thing that concerns me is the defensive side of the ball for them this year. Only returning 4 starters.
All right.
A little bit of a concern there. But they got that confidence factor, too, going in. Went 9-3 last year, 3-2 in the region. I'd probably say, they'll be that 3 or 4, pretty solid.
Well, another team, and I think could possibly leapfrog them, was South Gibson. We mentioned South Gibson give Covington a really good run last year. They didn't play as well against Milan, though. Milan knocked them off 29-14 in the second round.
Right.
That was 2 times that Milan beat them last year. Actually, Milan played them tougher than Covington did. So,
Sometimes, though, you think sometimes that's just a matchup
it's
thing.
matchup thing. I totally agree. I think Milan just didn't match up well with Covington. Now, Covington beat Milan twice, and
Right.
it wasn't even, neither game was real close. And that kind of leads to what you're saying, Lee. I think it was just a bad matchup for Milan as far as the Covington Chargers go. Will it be a bad matchup for them again this year? That's the question we got to answer.
Right.
But talking about South Gibson, 7 starters lead back on both sides of the ball. Paxton Terry, the offensive lineman, and they've got Nolan Stedham back at quarterback, two-way player at quarterback and DB. And of course, I'm assuming he's Coach Stedham's son, I would think. That's a very unusual name for that to be a coincidence.
Right,
So,
senior quarterback.
You got a senior quarterback, coach's son. You got to love that. So I think this is one of those regions, Lee. I think 1 through 4, man, that order could go crazy here just based on 1 or 2 games.
Absolutely, no doubt.
I mean, we were talking about Region 5, but you look at Region 7, man, you got the same situation. You got 4 teams that played each other very close last year, all of them with winning records. So,
and we're about to throw another team with a proven coach into the mix here with Westview.
Yes, that's exactly right. Matt McConnell. Matt McConnell comes over from Waverly, man, and you talk about turning the program around. Matt McConnell, he recruited the hallways. He got Waverly back legit. We talked about that in the 2A video, Lee, and I really like Matt McConnell. I think he's a great coach. He's got 6 starters back on offense, 3 on defense. He's got Ty Simpson, the quarterback, sophomore. He's already got offers from Tennessee, LSU, and Michigan. You put a talented quarterback with a wide open, I'm sure they're going to run a spread offense like you had there at Waverly.
Yep.
You got to like Westview, man. They're going to jump in the mix, I think.
Yeah, it's going to mix the region up even more.
That's right.
I don't know that they possibly could slip in maybe as a 4 spot, but I don't know that he goes that big of a turnaround, but it's definitely going to be a turnaround, and with that quarterback,
sophomore,
That's look
right.
out.
Next year, look out.
Look out.
This year they'll
improve.
They'll improve this year. I think next year, watch out, Westview Chargers may be the team to beat next year.
That's right. Sophomore receivers, junior running back.
And Bolivar Central, the team that finished 5th last year, I think probably Westview jumps them.
I think so.
They've got new coach as well, Montrell Kraft. He was promoted from defensive coordinator for Woodrow Lowe, who's out 2-8 last year, 1-5. Micah Gaines, among others, back. 4 starters back on offense, 5 on defense. But I think Westview goes over them.
I think so.
So it gets in the mix. All right, Lee, let's move on to Region 8. Wooddale, another team, dominated their region. They won all their region contests by an average of 29 points a game. Only Raleigh, Egypt played them close. I think that was a 4-point win there. So I would expect this year those 2 teams knocking heads for a region title. Would you agree?
I do. I think this year, though, Wooddale returning 6 on each side of the ball. They have a brutal non-region schedule as well. Briarcrest, Lausanne, and Christian Brothers.
Yeah.
That's 3 Division II schools.
Good division.
Very good quality talent right there they're going up against, which is going to benefit them. They lost to South Gibson in the first round last year by a couple of points. I think you go this way in the non-region to increase your odds in the playoff time. Do you think they take the 1 though?
No, I really like Raleigh, Egypt. They like I said, they only lost by 4 points, Lee, and they've got 16 kids back. They got 10 returners on offense. Clifton Tunstall, the quarterback, senior quarterback, he's back. You got Julius Hampton back, Brandon Johnson back, Vernon Harris as a junior defensive end, good-looking kid, and then you got Denzel Garman. He's a linebacker, running back. A lot of good talent back for this Pharaoh squad. Larry Franklin, 7-4 last year, 4-1 in region play. I like Raleigh Egypt to take the region this year.
I do too. I think Raleigh Egypt gets the 1 spot, and then Melrose and Wooddale, I think, will compete for the 2 and the 3. Could flip them.
Yeah. And of course, Melrose,
right.
Lee. Now Tresvant dropped down to 2A. They were. I think they finished 3rd last year.
They did.
So, yeah, I like Melrose as well. But I'm with you. I don't think they compete for the 1 or 2.
I think
you think they do?
I think they may have a shot, and the reason I say that is because Cedric Wilson.
Yeah.
Our buddy there, Hollywood from Trousdale County, talked about Cedric Wilson and the gold cleats.
Yeah.
Cedric's had a great career, a great player,
As a player, right?
And also, I think he relates to those kids at Melrose. I think they're going to respond. We'll see. I think I like them at the 3, but I could see a 2.
Now, they've got 8 starters back on offense,
right.
7 on defense. Antrell Kendrick, Charles Granberry Jr. He's listed as an athlete, good athlete. And then Centario Brown, another kid back. Sheffield, Lee, we like them as a 4th seed despite the fact they were 1-9
right.
Last year, 1-4 in region play. That's another team with a new head coach. I don't know. What do you think about the Knights?
I think they're going in the 4th spot. I think they'll be in the 4th spot. Like you said, they got 5-5 coming back.
Edward Kuykendall, who was the head coach at Oak Haven for 1 season, he also was a defensive coordinator for 3 years prior. He takes over as head coach.
Maybe he'll breathe some life in it.
Maybe so. But, 1-9, that's tough to rebound from. Then you got MLK. MLK was that's another team with a new head coach. Jeremy Rockett takes over. He was a secondary coach last year. He also spent time coaching in Mississippi for 6 years. 1-9, 0-5. What do you think potentially they get ahead of Sheffield?
I don't, for one reason.
Why is that?
They have all of their games are on the road.
That's crazy, isn't it? 8 road games, and 2 games they're calling home games are going to be played somewhere else. So, yeah, that's a tough situation. Okay, Lee. Well, I guess that kind of covers it. So you like, to recap, we like, I liked Stratford. Did you like Stratford in Region 5?
As of right now, but this is the one we talked about, man. Listen, 1 ball bounces on week 11, one way, shuffles the entire region.
Okay, but we're going for right now. We're going to go
Stratford.
We'll go Stratford in Region 2. We'll go Fairview. And Region, I said 2. I just said Region 6. Region 7, we like Covington Milan to fight it out. I think that's going to be tough. We'll go with Covington.
Got to knock them off.
Got to knock them off. Got to beat the man to be the man. And then Region 8, we like Raleigh Egypt.
We're going to go Raleigh Egypt.
To take Region 8. All right, folks. Well, that is our Class 3A Region 5 through 8 West half of the state rundown. We hope you've enjoyed this video. This is the second in the 3-part series with Class 3A. Next, we'll be bringing you our 3A Top 10. I'm Mike Molder. He's Lee Teat. And as always, we are sponsored by CoachT.com. Appreciate Jim Thompson and all that bunch over at Coach T supporting us the last couple of years here on the Friday Main Event. So we're going to draw a conclusion of this one, Lee. Hope you guys will hit the like button for us. And if you haven't yet subscribed, first of all, shame on you. That's all we ask is for you to subscribe. Yeah, we're not like charging you or anything. So hit the subscribe button for us. Join the Friday Main Event crew, and Lee, by crew, I mean Lee and I.
Right.
We don't have a crew. It's pretty obvious by this production here. We don't have a crew.
That's a good thing sometimes.
That's a good thing. We don't have to pay anybody anyway,
right.
do we?
Get to do what we want.
That's right. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. And, again, we'll be bringing you our Class 3A Top 10 next. We'll see you then. Thanks.